So this is only going to record your presentation. It doesn't record anybody else. It's just your slides.
Can you see the screen?
Yes?
Okay. And then we can go when we're ready, right?
We're ready.
Okay. So we're going to be talking about the rights of Indigenous people. Wait, why isn't it? That's fine. Oops. Okay. So we're going to start off the we're going to start it off with a poll. So if we could do a poll, we just want to know who knows who Indigenous people are and who doesn't know who Indigenous people are.
Poll is launched. A is you know who Indigenous people are. B is you don't know. And we value you for only voting A or B. We appreciate that.
Yes.
Oh, you're getting some quick votes. We're up to 60%. This is zippy. I'll cut it off at 80%. We're at 75 right now, just in the interest of time.
Okay.
It's not a close vote at all, so this is pretty accurate. There we go.
So like 84% of people voted, and 73% of people said they do know who Indigenous people are, and 24% said they didn't. So for those who don't know who Indigenous people are the first people who lived in a place. So they're a part of nations, for example, the Algonquin, Mohawk, Haida, Blackfoot, Casca, and they have historically belonged to particular regions of a country, and it's usually before colonization or transformation into a state. So over the years, many groups of people have been wiped out, taken away from diseases, other people colonizing them, or through policies of extermination. And as of today, those Indigenous people are predominantly subsidized based and non-urbanized and sometimes nomadic. So yeah, we're gonna do another poll. So we want to know if anyone here is an Indigenous person or from Indigenous descent, and if you are, if you know what nation you're from. So if you are Indigenous, press yes. If you're not Indigenous, press no. And then obviously, yeah, I guess C is an answer. If you don't know, if you're Indigenous, you can press I don't know.
And quick voting today, we're at 77%. I'll cut this off at 80. One more. Just need one more person to vote. 81, here we go. There you go.
I can see that 4 people voted that they are from like Indigenous descent. And if anyone is willing to share, like if you want to share where you're from or what nation you're from, if anyone wants to share that. No? Okay, wait. Okay, that's fine. And then Chen. I'm not sure if Chen is still here. Chen.
Okay, so the indigenous people live in every region of the world. 70% of them live in Asia and Pacific, 16.3% in Africa, 11.5% in Latin America, 1.6% in North America, and 0.1% in Europe. And as we can see in this graph, that in Bolivia and Guatemala, the indigenous people make up more than half of the population.
Yes, and then in the graph, it shows that Bolivia and Guatemala are 48 and 43%, but because the word indigenous is oftentimes defined in such a gray area, some people don't know whether to determine someone as indigenous or not. So it is oftentimes in a gray area when that is that. So the history of indigenous people is during the era of European colonial imperialism, Europeans destroyed the societal structure of indigenous people. So their personal things such as their land, food, silver, and gold were all taken away from them by the Europeans. And they oftentimes treated them as slaves. And this was considered intrinsically genocidal to them. And it was the destruction of the indigenous people and their way of life because the newcomers imposed their ways and practices onto them. But after World War II, the rights of indigenous people continued to grow, but to this day, it continues not to make up for the pain that the indigenous people have gone through. So some people have been critical of indigenous people because people have said that they often destroy the environment and they're a destruction to it, but others believe that indigenous people help the environment and they work with it instead of destroying it because indigenous people rely on nature. And a lot of multinational companies took the rights away from them living in nature, and these multinational companies exploited nature, which threatened their lives. So we are going to do another poll, and the question is going to be, the question is, what is your opinion on indigenous people and the environment? So do you believe that yes, indigenous people destroy the environment, or no, indigenous people don't destroy, they benefit the environment?
How far do they destroy? Like with the way that they live, or?
Yeah, so like their lifestyle, so where they live, the animals in the environment, how they use it, like cutting down trees and stuff, just how they use the environment and all.
What about improving their land?
In what way?
In the sense of that without people that colonized them, they weren't able to expand as we think about them today. How is today? For example, the United States with Christopher Columbus that invite them and it expand. So it doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah, so it's most people believe that indigenous people benefit nature instead of destroy it. And then personally, I would just say that I do believe that indigenous people benefit nature more than destroy it, just because they rely on nature. So without nature, indigenous people would kind of like have to, they wouldn't be able to do their ways of life and their practices. So although they use nature, I feel like they benefit it more towards hurting it. And then we're going to talk about passive threats for indigenous people. Chan.
So the passive threats, the few countries recognize the indigenous people as legitimate groups, leading to exclusion from the political forms in which to define their rights. Denial of access to legal avenue to secure and define their rights, exclusion from philanthropic states and charitable funding and support, benign neglect by civil society. And the active rights, the withholding citizenship or rights afford other citizens eviction from our native lands, the physical removal or stopping of our nature assets, eviction from our native territories in the name of conservation, exploitation of intellectual property. The next,
So with indigenous people,
the
with indigenous
violence.
people, sorry? Oh yeah, go ahead.
The indigenous people are often beaten or killed during eviction. Their homes are burned and their property destroyed. Indigenous women and children are often more likely to be raped power.
So when it comes to poverty with indigenous people, because of their assets, which are stripped, their community and their assets become impoverished. So indigenous people suffer high rates of poverty, homelessness, and malnutrition. They have lower levels of literacy and less access to health services. So indigenous people contribute about 5% of the world's population, yet they account for about 15 of the world's poor. Indigenous people make up the poorest demographic in every single country in Latin America, where in Guatemala, you can see that 86.6% of indigenous people are poor, and in Mexico, 80.6% of them are poor as well. In Thailand, more than 40% of indigenous girls and women migrate to the cities where they work in the sex trade because of a lack of education. They're not able to have the chances and given higher education where they can flourish and do better in life. And in the chart right here, we can see that poverty rates among indigenous people living less than $1.25 a day is in 9% in countries such as Bolivia, Brazil, Ecuador, Guatemala, Mexico, and Peru, where people who earn less than $2.50 a day are 24% and $4 a day are 43%, compared to a state such as California, where the average wage is like $13 to $15 an hour. They're making less than that a day. When it comes to their health, indigenous health systems are intimately linked to the health of the ecosystem. So because they rely on their environment and the ecosystem, depending on how well the environment is doing, relies on how well they're doing. So they have the indigenous people have the same infectious diseases, but are at much higher rates. So they suffer diseases such as leprosy, diabetes, and heart disease, such as other people as well, but it's at higher rates. HIV and AIDS is disproportionately higher among indigenous people and especially women. So in the chart, it shows that indigenous people suffer higher rates of diseases such as like mental behavior disorders, genitourinary diseases, maternal conditions, just because like they don't really go to hospitals to give birth. But as you can see, non-indigenous people suffer higher rates of cardiovascular disease, cancer, and musculoskeletal disease. When it comes to their culture, they're often evicted and their environment is destroyed, taken away. And this results in a loss of tradition and knowledge within their nation. It's a loss of clanship and a loss of language. So many indigenous people, there's more than 4,000 languages. And because of the stripping of their land, the stripping of the environment, they're losing a lot of their natural assets and their culture within their nation. So they're just diminishing every day, slowly and slowly. And then are there any questions?
So feel free to raise a hand. I was going to ask one, Alexander, are there any protections that have been put into place where some of these communities have been, where they've actually stopped, like the evictions and helped them out? Anything that you're aware of?
Yes, so there has been a few restrictions, such as like you can't, so like when it comes to casinos and stuff like that, it's owned by a lot of indigenous people. Mm-hmm. And there's certain things, there's rules in place that you can't break. Such as like, I know you can't, I forgot what it was, but like children can't go into a casino after 7 or something. And then you can't like go on their land or take way more land, but because of like a lot of big companies, they kind of like overtake some of the laws, and it's like they overpower them and kind of win in the long run sometimes. But the laws are very weak, if I can say.
Mhm. And did you, I didn't see this in your slides, you may have had it in there, but did you see any statistics about increased substance abuse disorders among communities that have been displaced or not treated fairly?
Sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
Did you notice any statistics about groups that have been displaced? You know, let's say they've been evicted, put on reservations, et cetera. If there's been any studies you've seen on substance abuse disorders?
Oh, yes. So a lot of the times, because of eviction and the taking away of their lands, they have seen an increase amount use of alcohol.
Mhm.
So a lot of them have they have been using alcohol to kind of like cope with that, and they found that an increased amount of them have been drinking alcohol.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else care to share, ask a question, share a thought? Okay, any final words, Alexander or Ning?
Um, obviously, I believe that Indigenous people deserve a lot of deserve the rights that they deserve, and because they were the first ones here, it's wrong for us to take their land. It's wrong for us to treat them not the same as us. So I feel like we should really pay them attention and give them the equal rights they deserve.
Thank you. I see Giacomo has a hand up.
Yes, based on the question that you asked about the addiction, I think that in particular in South America, they have some special ritual where they used to use drugs and any other kind of things that they are using to have to sort of include also other cultures. For example, people that are traveling and they want to try this experience, and they spend also 1 week or some days into those communities, and they try to communicate and have this contact with the external community, I think.
Yes. Is there any more responses or questions?
Any other thoughts? Going once, going twice? Okay, Alexander, Ning, thank you very much for the presentation. And I want to thank your team especially, as well as all the other teams, for bringing things to our awareness that don't always hit the front news headlines. And they're still incredibly important. So I appreciate all of you bringing things to our awareness that might not always be hitting the headlines every day. And you will be seeing in some of the extra credit presentations coming forward, you're going to be learning about groups that need our awareness that you may never have heard of before. So you can look forward to those. So I won't do a spoiler alert. So yep, we're at 12:55. We're going to end class now. Alexander, when the class ends, well, I will upload your recording to your midterm, and then you can just add your PowerPoint to it if you haven't done that yet. Let me just make sure there aren't any more hands up. Jordy has a hand up. Hi, Jordy.
Hi, sir. So one of my teammates just told me that the video that I uploaded was only 40 seconds of the recording of the presentation.
Yep.
Is that like did I upload it wrong or something, or?
The YouTube video is only 46 seconds long. It should be about 20 minutes to half an hour.
Oh, like because I uploaded, so I click resubmit assignment in the and I submitted the recording of the presentation, and I also submitted on the like on the same submission the YouTube video.
Okay, so let
So
me.
should I just resubmit it and then but only with the recording?
Let me just take a look at you. So it was in your account, right? In the Jordy account.
Yeah.
Let me just take a peek because you have to look for multiple submissions. So let me just see if it's there and I missed it.
Because I submitted a video and I also submitted a link to a YouTube video. So I submitted two things.
Yeah, so I have a Zoom underscore 0.mp4.
Yeah, that's the recording for the presentation.
Okay, so let's see if that comes in. Because I
It
tried
took
that one earlier, it just came up with an empty HTML, but that might just be issues on my end.
because it took quite a long time to like upload. It took like 5 to 10 minutes to upload. So I think it worked because it was quite a big file.
Let me take a peek here. Yeah, you know what I'm getting? This is what I got before. This is weird. It's bringing me to an EF login. It downloaded a SAM2-3 HTML, and now it's just trying to log me into Halt, which I don't know how it's doing that. This is
Um,
just a straight file, right?
Myself, Jennifer.
so
Already.
sorry, excuse me.
I just don't understand how, I don't understand what it's doing. It's bringing me to a download. It's called SAML2-3.html, and it's just it's a login for EF Halt. Has been
Um,
added into my account. So something's a little messed up. Is it possible to upload it to YouTube or to Dropbox and send it to me that way?
yeah, I'll upload it to. I'll put it in a Google Docs or something, and I'll send you the link over WhatsApp. Is that okay?
Google can get a little bit weird for me. If you could do YouTube or Dropbox, those two.
Okay, yeah, I'll upload it on YouTube then, and I'll send it to you over WhatsApp.
Great, I appreciate it. Thank you, Jordy.
Thank you, sir.
And good to see you as well. Juan Carlos, I see your hand is up.
Yes, thanks, Professor. How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good, thanks. I was just wondering, just to clarify, when we were gonna do the Harvard business cases.
The way the schedule is looking is tomorrow is going to be midterm team SSCD, then team VEN, the rest of it's cutting off, but that's Jason and Adriana. And then we're going to go into the HBS cases. We'll have Samuel first. Then we're going to go to the Airbnb, team SSCD. Then we're going to go to team 9 Hilton, team Human Being Apple. We've got 2 extra credits, Isabel and Lorenzo, and then everybody else. What team are you on?
I'm on team 3.
Team.
But I hadn't told you when we were gonna present.
Yeah, because I don't see you on my list. Tuesday or Wednesday is probably going to be most likely. And keep in mind, we're going to limit the presentations to 15 minutes just because I wanted the midterms to go long. I want everyone to have all their airtime. So that's kind of bleeding into the schedule a little bit. So I'm going to be, when you make your presentation, just make sure it'll stop at 15 minutes, okay?
Perfect. Thank you, Professor.
Okay, sure. Carlos, I see Carlos has a hand up.
Hi, Professor. Just touching on that, what you said about the midterms, I'm part of the group that messed them up, and we did the case study first. We did the gap case study. I don't know if you remember.
Are you team 15 or the team that I already talked to?
You already talked to us. We're team 4.
Gotcha. You're going to do the, yeah, okay. I remember, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, we're going to be ready to go on Monday, but when do you think
if you want to go on Monday, that's fine. So midterm gets precedent. So
whatever you prefer. If you want us to go on Monday.
Yeah, whenever you're ready, because I gave you guys a week, so that's fine. Give me your team number.
We're team 4.
Team 4. Okay, so you'll go on Monday.
And then I just had a question about logistics of what we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a way we are doing? I don't want to spoil it because there's still people.
Yeah, I know what you're doing. So we'll talk in code. How's that?
yeah. I just wanted to see if that is a possibility to split half of the class into a breakout room where they can see what's going on in the main session.
We can do a breakout room.
We're doing an experiment.
You probably want to have someone from your group being there with them.
We will. Yeah, one of us is going to be, I guess, in the breakout room, making sure that people are staying on.
Are they going to do anything, or is it just going to be kind of like a waiting?
Kind of. They're just gonna cut wait, and then we're gonna send the other half of the class into that breakout room. It shouldn't take more than 5 minutes for the experiment.
Okay, that's fine. Yep. Just let me know how you want to do it. But yeah, it sounds like we can do that just fine.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that logistically it was possible. But yeah.
Yeah, so I'll put my brain on that. But yeah, that will be possible to do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. If I have any other questions, I'll shoot you a text.
Sounds good. And I'm going to go check my WhatsApp because it's full.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you,
everyone.
Professor.
Have a great
Bye.
day. Bye-bye.